Hi, I'm Amanda Skelton, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how to make this exploding box. It's a really nice gift. It's a card and a box in one, so it can be for a really nice special occasion. I've done this for Mother's Day. Hopefully my mother isn't watching, otherwise she'll see it before she gets it next week. It does take quite a while to make a box like this, as you'll see in a minute when you see the amount of elements that can go into it. So it would be really nice for a nice wedding card or a special anniversary or a new baby. Obviously Father's Day coming up in June as well. So this is a really nice box that you can make as a very special sort of gift and card in one, really. So you take the lid off and then you have your layers inside, and this is what I'll show you, the different elements that I've made inside this box. So I've already constructed this, but I will explain to you all the different sizes. So this is basically 3 boxes stuck together to make one. Okay, so the main thing you will need is a whisper white cardstock, and because of the dimensions of this, I really do recommend you buying the packs of 12 by 12 white cardstock. Normally you'd buy the A4 size, but the outside box, the dimensions are 12 by 12, so it fits really nicely with the 12 by 12 cardstock, which you'll need for this. You could obviously scale this down and make it a smaller box, or only use the 2 inside boxes to make it a smaller box. But I've done this as quite a large box because I want to put elements, some gifts inside for Mother's Day. Okay, so the sizes of card that you'll need to make this exploding card. So for the outside box, you need a piece of cardstock, white cardstock, 12 by 12 inches. And what I've done then is scored into from each edge 4 inches on each side. So 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches. And then you want to cut out the corner edges. I would suggest doing that with a trimmer. And then for your next size box, you want to have 11 inches by 11 inches card, and you want to score down from each edge at 3 3/4 inches. So again, on each corner, on each edge, 3 3/4 inches, and then again cut out the corners. And then your inside box is going to measure 10 inches by 10 inches card, and you want to measure down 3 1/2 inches from each edge and score your lines there, again taking out the corner panels. The panels that you need for each of your pieces, so for your larger 12 by 12 inch box, you want your panels to be 3 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, so they are square on that box, and you want that obviously on both sides. Your next box, which is from your 11 inches by 11 inches piece of card, you want those panels to be 3 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches, so they're not square, they're narrower than they are long, again for both sides. And then your smaller box, which you've created from your 10 inches by 10 inches piece of card, your panels will be 2 3/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. Again, they are not square, they're longer than they are wide. So I recommend that you cut the edges using a trimmer of some kind. So I've used the Stampin' Up paper trimmer. It just means that you've got all your nice edges. When you're doing the lid, for example, you can get away with cutting the corners and cutting the edges with scissors because it's going to be hidden. But I would recommend that you use a trimmer for this. So when it then comes to decorating all of the panels, the size of the panels you need are 3 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So those are square on the outside box. And you want that for the inside edge and the outside edge and the inside edges. So I have used a combination of different products to make this card. I've used the Dress to Impress bundle. So this is the DSP from Dress to Impress. So I've used the spotty side as pattern for 2 of them, and I've used the shoes for 1, and then this one I've sort of made as the front of the box. So I've almost made this sort of like your sentiment, really. So obviously I've done Happy Mother's Day. I've used the stone embossing folder. I've used the Happy Mother's Day, which is a stamp from the Dress to Impress stamp set, and then I've used the layering ovals to make the almost like a badge, I suppose. And then I've made this little ribbon, which is 1 inch by about 1.5 inches, and then I've just cut out a triangle from the bottom to make it look a bit like a ribbon. That just makes it like a nice sort of opening thing for the card. Okay, and then on the inside panels, I have used the basket weave embossing folder for 2 of the edges, and I've used Happy Birthday to You stamp and dies for these flowers and these leaves. And then for this one here, I've made a plant pot. So for the plant pot, it's a 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 piece of cardstock. This is all Merry Merlot cardstock. And then what I've done is I've measured down 1/2 inch from the one edge, and then I've cut in just a little section, and then I've continued to cut down to the bottom edge in a diagonal to make it look like a plant pot, and then I've added these flowers to make them look like they're tumbling out the plant pot. So on this section here, I've put the piece of card on, and then I've added an additional piece of card on top. So this can be used as a gift card holder. Ooh, if I can get it in there. So I've added, so this is 1 inch deep by 3 3/4 inches along, so that's the same width as the backing card. And then I've just glued the 3 edges to make a little pocket for you to put in either a gift card or a photo or a note, anything you want to really. So on the other edge, I've made a little envelope. Now I've used this using the envelope board, but you can use it. So this is based on a 5 by 5 inch piece of card, and it makes this envelope just quite a nice size actually. So that's 3 inches by about just over 2 1/4. So again, you could put in a little note in there, or a photo or something. Okay, so now we come to the next box. So on the outside of that box, I have added 2 pieces of flowery paper again from Best Dressed DSP. On this one, I've added a silhouette of a tree from Rooted in Nature. And on this one, I've cut out a couple of butterflies from the Butterfly Beauty dies, just to add a bit of detail there and a little sprig of greenery. So I think on this, you don't really need to make the outsides too decorative. I would probably more concentrate on the inside panels, because that's what you'll see when it opens out. And then on the insides, again, I've got 2 pieces of the Best Dressed DSP. And then on this panel here, again, I've got the piece of card. So on this inside middle box, the size of the panels you need is 3 1/4 inch by 3 1/2 inch. So it is narrower than it is long. So they aren't square on these the 2 inside boxes. So that is 3 1/4 inch by 3 1/2 inches. That's the pieces of card and paper you need. So on this one, I've used the oval dies to make a little cutout, so you've got like a thumb area. I've used the scalloped oval die, but I think really it looks a bit like a shark bite, so I'd probably suggest you just use the straight edged one, and then you can put a photo or something in there. And then on this other edge, I've added a piece of ribbon underneath the panel, so the panel's at a size as I said. I'd probably say it's probably about, I don't know, probably about 10 to 15 inches of ribbon. I've used the metallic edge ribbon here. So if somebody likes like their coffees or their teas or hot chocolates, you could put little sachets or pouches in here, or anything else that you think would make a nice gift. So then we move on to the inside box. So on this box, I've actually just stamped my own design on this, just to show that you don't have to keep on adding layers of paper. So I've used 3 colours here to match with the papers that I've used. So I've got Merry Merlot ink, Blushing Bride and Highland Heather. And then on the inside I have used again DSP from Best Dressed DSP, and on this one I've literally just cut it from corner to corner diagonally, and again you can use that as a pocket to put a photo or a note. It's probably just too big for putting a credit card, so I'd probably say that that's probably better for the outside. You could make that on the outside and you could do that sort of pocket instead of what I've done here, but that's just to really give you lots of different options of what to do. And then on these two I've embossed these again with the stone embossing folder. These are stamped and die cut with the Best Dressed dies and stamps, and I've used the Stampin Blends to colour these in, and then I've used the Peaceful Poppy sequins just to add a bit of detail on those. Okay, so I do suggest, I mean I've stuck it together now, but I do suggest that you decorate each of the panels separately before you add them or stick them all together. Just make sure that if you've got any paper that is has got an obvious upright direction, that you make sure that you're adding it as you go. So then I've just used tear and tape. I turned over the each of the inside boxes, just added tape onto here, and then just stuck each one down and pressed them as I've gone. I have found that it's easier if you lay out the boxes like this. You can then add your next layer box, make sure that it's centered with the pieces that you've left here, and also make sure it looks like it's centered with the panels that you're laying on top of. Okay, so then you have your box, and you've got a gap in the middle if you want to add some gifts. What you could also do is you could make you could use stamps and dies. For example, I used the tree, didn't I, on one of these? This one, I think. Yeah, so the tree. If you wanted to, you could die cut two shapes, and you could actually make it stand up in the middle, and you could maybe have a sentiment on the top to make it sort of like have a little or balloons or something like that would be quite nice. Cut out balloon shapes and have that in the middle with a sentiment like happy birthday or something like that. So yeah, so that's my exploding box. Like I said, really nice for a special occasion. So now we're going to make the lid for the exploding box. So I've already prepared this, but I can tell you what the dimensions are. So you want a piece of white card, and you want it to measure 8 1/4 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And then what I've done is I've scored each edge at 1 inch and at 2 inches each side, 1 inch, 2 inch, all the way around. Okay. And then what you want to do, as you would with any lid or box, you then need to cut out the last outside 3 squares of the scored boxes. So you'll have 3 squares in each corner, and you need to cut those out to leave this. And then what I've done is, as with any normal lid as well, is I've just taken the corners off these overlapping flaps here. And actually, I'm going to do it. And then what you also want to do is these corners here, you want to cut one edge on those so that they become the tabs. Okay, and actually what I'm going to do here as well is I'm just going to cut those corners as well. It just makes them a bit easier to fold in. So you can just, don't need to be too fussy with the angles or anything. You just want to take the edges off into the corners. Got it everywhere. Okay. So once you're left with that, so this would have been the side that I had the valleys on my score lines. So I've turned it over so that the mountains are on the top, and then you want to fold in all of your scored edges like this. I've already done this. Okay, and then you're left with this. So what you want to do is put some tape. So I've used tear and tape because I find it really quick to adhere, and very strong as well, so especially for boxes I find it a really good glue. With wet glue you have to stand there and hold it for a bit, so I do find this tearing tape really good. So I've got 4 pieces of tape on these 4 edges here. So like I said, it needs to be the way that you folded it in, because you're going to fold them in a minute and that's going to be stuck on the inside. And then on your little tabs here, you want to fold those in and then put your piece of tape on that edge, because that is going to become the side that's stuck on the inside there. Okay, so I can take all the pieces of tape off of the tabs. So we'll start with that first. And because you've got one side that's protected, you can always put all of your pieces of tape on your box lid at this point, but only take off the ones that you want when you want to start constructing it. So you just want to make a nice edge there. And there. That didn't go so well. Let's try that again. Actually stick it this time. Okay. And there. And then there. Okay. And then actually what I've done, and this is, you know, we will learn by mistakes. I've done the tape on the outside there. I would also suggest you put a piece of tape on that edge there as well. So I'm now going to take these pieces off, and you can do these one at a time. So yeah, you can see that actually by the time I've stuck this side over, it'll probably be okay. Let's have a look. Actually, yes, that holds it in quite nicely, so don't need to worry about that too much, which is good. And if you don't have nails, you can use your pick your tool. This one here, so it's got a nice sharp pointy edge on it. You can use that just to pick up the corner of your tape covering. Oh, come here. There you go. Okay. So that has made our box. That's quite nice and strong. And then we want to decorate it. So we have our box here. I haven't stuck all the item entries down yet, but I can just show you the idea to show you that it fits. So you just need to hold all your pieces together, and then that just holds it all together like this. So what we want to do now is decorate the edges, and it might be easier to do this while it's actually on your box, because then you can see which is the correct way up. Now I've got 2 edges with the spots and one with the shoes, so you need, well, I'm going to decorate the box, so I've got 4 pieces of designer series paper, and it's the all dressed up designer series paper that matches the outside paper. And you want those lengths to be 4 inches across and 3/4 inch high for all 4 pieces of those. So we're going to just stick those on. Now I think I'm going to match the edges, or you might want to alternate them. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to get my double-sided tape. And if you've got a pattern that is a definite way up, which this does, you obviously want to make sure you match it. So I'm going to place that on there. Okay, so that matches that, and I think I might put that, I'm going to decide actually, let me put the edges on first. Spots don't really have a right way up, so that's easy to do. And then we'll do that side. Okay, so there you can see we've got the matching boxes, lids for the sides, and I think I might even make the top, I might leave that plain actually, but we're going to decorate the very top. So because the actual base of the box is 4 inches by 4 inches, the top needs to be bigger, so the top ends up being about 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Yeah, pretty much, just under. So I've got a piece of card that I'm going to decorate the top with, so I've made that 4 inches by 4 inches. And I've also embossed it with the stone effect embossing folder that comes with the Power of Hope free in the celebration. So it just finishes it off, I think, to have something a bit pretty on there. So I'm just going to glue that. I mean, you could just leave it blank, or you could stamp on it, or you could just add a sentiment. So it's entirely up to you how fussy and decorated you want it to be. Okay, I think that just really finishes it off, especially seeing as we've got this on the front as well. And then I've also stamped "You Are Wonderful," because this is for Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day box. So because it's for Mother's Day, I put "You Are Wonderful," which is from the Rooted in Nature stamp set. And then I've used the layering ovals dies just to mount that onto. Okay, and then I've sort of followed the same design that I've got the Happy Mother's Day on, and then I'm going to put that on the top. Even though this is embossed, it's not a really deep emboss, so it's normally okay to still just put your tape on. You shouldn't need to. Oh, I want that facing the front as well, so we'll put that on there. And if you wanted to, you could add some other jewels or some ribbon. You could even tie the whole thing up with a ribbon, but like I said, you can make it as fancy as you like. But that is the box with the lid. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this. So you take the lid off, and then you have your gorgeous exploding card with all your layers. Obviously I haven't stuck this down, but you can see all the different layers, and it just makes a lovely special gift. Well, it's almost like a gift and a card in one. This is for Mother's Day. It could be for a special birthday, a 60th or a 50th. It could be for Father's Day, if you use a different set of stamps and colours, and it would make a really good wedding or anniversary card if you use the wedding cake type cards and stamps and dies. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please visit my Stampin' Up website, which is amandascraftedcards.stampingup.net, and you can buy and view all the products that I've used here. And I hope that you get a chance to make one of these. It just makes a very special item, doesn't it? And you can make it as personalised as you want to. You can, once it's closed, you can either maybe put something else in the top in here that maybe stands up, make it sort of like a 3D thing, like a happy birthday or a sentiment. Or if you wanted to, you could just put some chocolates, or if somebody likes a perfume or some lipstick or some makeup or jewellery, then you could place that in here. It's a really nice size. So the small box is about 3 inches by 3 inches, so you've got space in there for a nice little jewellery box. But yes, it's really nice, isn't it? Thank you for watching, and I shall see you again soon.